Hey, what's up everyone? Just thought I would take a few minutes out of the day to show off a couple of posters, one of several hundred that I'm sort of migrating from some older archiving systems into some new portfolio systems. Hope one of these days to be able to show it off all at once it's all finally, after all of these many years, all together again. Here we've got, these are going to be pretty random, honestly. Here we've got a Dark Horse promotional poster about 24 by 36 inches, specifically highlighting 20 years of Dark Horse manga. And the reason why this matters to Star Wars is, of course, on the back, where it highlights some of the major Dark Horse manga titles. We've got this right here. So a small highlight, but an EU-related highlight nonetheless. Thus the poster belongs part of the collection, right? This we have sort of a one-of-a-kind. It's a small promotional poster for a book signing event by Karen Travis, who actually signed this poster for a book event July 30th at Wordsmith Books in Georgia, specifically for the Clone Wars novelization. Now, this is sort of important in a couple respects. Obviously, it's a one-of-a-kind. It's signed. That's great. There actually is official sort of like swag tie-in with a number of previous Travis book tours. Like there's like a bookmark from like her Legacy tour and various things like that. There's even some promotional posters I have from sort of like official Del Rey tours of James Luceno books that if I haven't shown off, I'll show in a future video. But it's cool too, just because there really wasn't a lot out there promotionally for this novelization. You know, it's sort of kind of weird, it's kind of controversial, at least in the North American context, never gets an official paperback release. It's just sort of strangely neglected in the context of much larger amounts of sort of 2008 Clone Wars content. But at least we've got this sort of unique one-off for this book tour. And of course, it's cool that it's signed by Travis herself. Here we have one of a very large collection of KOTOR 2 related promotional posters. Now, what's unique about KOTOR 2 in the context of promos is that KOTOR 1 had very little, and where you can still find it, and they are hard to find, they're very expensive, very sought after promotional posters with like the iconic cover art. They sort of update that for KOTOR 2. They make right on that by providing lots of different promotional posters and lots of different sort of contexts. This is about a 20 by 30 inch promotional poster that came directly out of the Prima strategy guide. But there's a larger list that you sort of had to go on kind of a fun hunt for at the time if you sort of knew where to look and what you were looking for. I think things like Gaming World magazine, Computer Gaming magazine, I think the Xbox magazine, they all had promotional posters that look somewhat similar to this, but that were sort of smaller and just individually sort of character focused. You could kind of put them together almost like something of a puzzle, and I'll show those off in a future video. Still pretty neat to see this. I'm trying to think of, is this double-sided? No, this is not double-sided. Sticking with the Old Republic sort of writ large, we've got one of a very large collection of SWTOR promotional posters and store displays here. This is just one that if I haven't shown up in a previous video, I've always been meaning to. This is part of an interesting variant here. So I've got this as a poster in sort of the portrait sort of orientation, and this here is sort of like the landscape orientation. So it's kind of funny. So I've got it sort of looking like this with the art sort of, you know, reconfigured, and now I've got it like this, and I believe this is double-sided. Now this is tricky. I mean, this is kind of thin but stiffer hardstock. So this is this a poster? This gets sort of controversial. This is really something like technically more of kind of like an in-store, game store sort of wall display. But for all intents and purposes, it's a poster. It fits, you know, and can be stored in archive just like those other posters. There's so much from KOTOR and SWTOR that I have to show off. I'm really excited, including, for instance, a bus shelter size poster that's about 5-6 feet tall. This is not a poster, but this was just right next to the pile of posters, and I've talked about this before. At least I think I've shown off a picture of it. It's a sort of CD, DVD. It's a big universe, the making of Star Wars audiobook. This is from Del Rey, and this doesn't get talked about a lot, but what's really cool is it's basically a behind the scenes on how these audiobooks get put together with something of kind of a preview of the Labyrinth of Evil. Really, really cool. I think that this is somewhere on YouTube. I think someone's gone through the trouble of recording this and uploading this. This still occasionally comes up on the secondary market, but a really cool little find if you're into not just the EU, but in particular the sort of the EU audiobook experience. This is definitely a must-have. This is a portfolio that I think I've shown off in the past, but I've swapped some things out here and there. One thing I wanted to highlight was a really cool sort of promotional poster campaign for The Force Unleashed 2. And these are in no particular order here, but one thing they did was to kind of have this Unleash campaign, okay? And so these, there were 3 11 by 17 posters that at the bottom have all the same, basic information about the game. Obviously, when it's coming out, October 2010, The Force Unleashed 2. But, and again, I forget the order, and in no particular order is Unleash Pain. I think, let's flip to the other one here. It is Unleash, I will explain more, Unleash Truth and Unleash Fury. So sort of these like kind of three related taglines: Unleash Fury, Unleash Truth. So pretty cool, pretty cool. I mean, Force Unleashed, a little bit like KOTOR, has a vast amount of store displays, promotional posters, all sorts of things to collect, and it's sort of an endless process. We'll go through them one of these days. Unleash Truth. There it is again. Okay, so this is something that may be controversial in the context of a larger EU promo poster collection, but it's this promotional poster, which actually happens to be signed by John Jackson Miller, for the first batch of non-EU post-2014 Disney canon books. Why do I have this? Well, my completism runs so strong that it even takes into regard the fact that these were books that were at some point intended to be part of the original pre-2014 expanded universe. Now, I'm not someone who thinks that they are therefore something that can be sort of crowbarred in or headcanoned into continuity. It's just not my point of view, but I recognize the fact that, well, these were things that at some point would have been ours had there been no reboot. And so again, completism, it dies hard. And here's the poster. There's a couple different promotional posters. I got another one I'll show here if I can find it. I think we just passed it before. I think it's the Tarkin one. Is this it? Let's see, is it all the way in the back here? Aha, it's this. It's a promotional poster specifically for the Tarkin book, but at the bottom sort of references those first three and even hints at Dark Disciple. Again, a book that, written by a popular EU author that at one point was intended to be something released prior to 2014, part of the original EU continuity, but which of course is released later and is updated in ways and given the official sort of like canon approval by the story group, therefore not part of the EU. But again, in terms of a promotional poster and being completist, it's something that it's just sort of here to recognize the fact that at some point this was something that was at least supposed to be in an alternate, sort of universe, right? Part of the EU timeline. Now, when it comes to Dark Disciple, which this poster sort of hints at, there actually is an official promotional poster, 11 by 17 for Dark Disciple. That is not a part of my collection, and nor do I ever plan for it to be. While none of these books, in my opinion, are in any way part of the pre-2014 continuity, even if you can sort of headcanon them in, despite the fact that they were at some point designed to be, it's obviously the case that they're not, and there's still, even within that batch, there's sort of a spectrum, in my opinion, right? Where it's like, you've got Tarkin and maybe some of these, right, that are like maybe closer to what it was supposed to be. I think New Dawn is slightly sort of like, further removed, given the fact that it's like related to like the Rebel show, which sort of just, you're fully now into the new canon. But then I think by Dark Disciple, you've got a book that, although based on unreleased Clone Wars content pre-2014, is so changed that there's just no sense in which that's even sort of part of this kind of fun, complete, sort of, delve into the post-2014 work. So from a promotional point of view, it's just this Tarkin and that sort of broader promotional poster that I have as part of this collection. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in here that I haven't talked about in the past. I think I might have mentioned this before. This is one of only three sort of poster proofs of the cover for Supernatural Encounters. Oh yeah, there's a couple more Dark Horse related things. I sort of alluded to this, right? So this is just a tearaway poster that was available in, I think, Comics Preview magazine for some of those kind of like late pre-2014 Dark Horse Comics run. Pretty cool little promo poster there, like that image. This here is a promotional poster, and it's double-sided, but I think this is the more operative side. Another one highlighting the Dark Horse history of manga, in this case celebrating 25 years and not just 20. And again, there is, I think, a brief reference to a Star Wars title here. Yes, there it is. Again, a small reference, but a reference nonetheless, thus a poster that belongs in the collection. I think most of this other stuff I've shown off before. This, I think, is just part of a set of art that was given away at Celebration 5 in 2010 in Orlando. Really cool collection, just sort of like kind of almost like travel posters of different places in the Star Wars galaxy. Here's another one from that. Really cool stuff. I don't have the complete set anymore. I wish I did. I think I've talked about these before. There's just a long list of these previews magazines, which would often have Star Wars EU covers, had posters promoting those issues, right? So again, complete doesn't die as hard. You've got to get those too. I think you guys have seen most of this. This is not the poster. I've talked about that in a previous video. The poster is 2x3. This is just a print ad from Billboard magazine, I believe 1980, that you can still occasionally find. It's sort of fun to have there. It's another Old Republic poster, more of those previews posters. The Brian Wood promotional poster for the Brian Wood comic run. Again, I think I've talked about all this stuff, but as long as I'm here, just sort of running through it again. Promotional poster for some of the Episode 1 tie-ins, including, interestingly, Jedi Apprentice, which in some branding you actually see sort of almost like referred to as like part of the Episode 1 sort of publishing project, which is really fascinating. Promotional poster there, the Reader's Companion, more Dark Horse promotional posters. I don't believe there's Star Wars represented here. Oh no, there it is, sure enough. Yet on the back there's information about more of the Star Wars comics and stuff. I think everything else in here I've probably shown off on previous videos, but it's still just fun to sort of take a look. So yeah, a long list of posters that need to get moved into portfolios, and when that happens, I will make more videos about all of them. See you next time.